This is your government. That means you own it. The owner's manual is the U.S. Constitution.
In the last meeting, we talked about the different forms of government, and that a republic is a mixed government, which means that it encompasses or uses all three of the basic forms of government that are available. As you have been taught in high school civics, there are three branches of government. The Constitution sets up three branches of government. The first is the legislative. And what does the legislative do?
Makes laws.
The legislative makes laws. The next is the executive. And what does the executive do?
Carry out those laws.
It executes the laws. That's right. It enforces the laws. Okay. And then the third branch of government is the judiciary. And what does the judiciary do?
Settles disputes.
Settles disputes. That is the traditional function of any judiciary, is to settle disputes. Because if you have a dispute between these guys and these guys, somebody has to say who's right. That's what these guys do. The legislature makes a law, and the executive does not want to enforce it. The judiciary is the one that would make them enforce it. If the executive tries to make a law and the legislature says, no, you can't do that, the judiciary is the one that decides. If the executive, now, and this is where it becomes really important to you and me, is that if the executive enforces a law, and here you are, the little guy down here, and you get this great big executive branch coming down on top of you, you get to go to the judiciary and say this isn't right, they shouldn't be doing that, and the judiciary is going to help you determine the dispute whether or not it was right or not. Yes?
That will only work if each of the three branches respects and honors the other two.
As we talked about last time, there are three basic natural forms of government. What's one of them?
Monarchy.
Monarchy, okay. And a monarchy means rule by one person. What's the advantage of a monarchy? What's good about a monarchy?
Gets things done.
It gets things done, exactly right. So monarchy is ruled by one person. What's another one of the forms of government?
Aristocracy.
An aristocracy, good. And it comes from aristo, meaning the best. And aristocracy is a rule by the minority. And what's another form of government?
Democracy.
Rule by the majority,
The masses.
exactly, which is a democracy. Demo meaning people. Okay? So each of these forms of government can be beneficial for a particular society, but they can also go bad because they're run by men. Then you have another form of government, which is a mixed government, and the mixed government takes elements of each of these three, combines them all together, and has them working with each other so that the monarch cannot do his job unless he's got the aristocracy and the democracy with him. The aristocracy cannot do its job unless it's got the monarchy and the democracy with it. All of them have to depend upon each other. That's checks and balances. That's what those are all about. And in Rome, they called it the res publica, the thing of the people. That's what we call today republic. A republic has all three of these pieces in it. Now, let's take a look at our three branches of government. It just so happens we have three branches of government, and we have three forms of government available. So, the legislative branch. How would you say the legislative branch is run? Is there one person that's in charge of the legislative branch? No. Okay.
Democracy.
Good. It has a majority rule. If a majority of the representatives and the senators say, yeah, this should be a law, then it's a bill and it goes over to the executive and it gets signed, blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of what they're doing just right here, the majority rules. So this form of government, the form of government that is in the legislative branch is a democracy. All right. In the executive, Is that run by?
Monarchy.
Okay, it's run by El Presidente. And it is a monarchy. He runs the executive branch, and what he says, okay, you guys, you're gonna go over there, and these guys, you're gonna go over there, and oh, we got a war that these guys have declared we need to fight, and I'm the commander-in-chief of the Army and the Navy, and so we're gonna go over here, and so on and so forth, we're gonna make these allies and whatnot. And he's the guy that's in charge of that, but he cannot fully do his job until the legislative tells him what to do. Because they pass the laws, they give them to him, and he enforces them. But this is the monarchy. What does that leave us for the judiciary?
Aristocracy.
It leaves us aristocracy. In the judiciary, there is a minority there of lawyers who know the law, judges who know the law, who are the ones who help the guys down here, and they're supposed to protect the ones that are innocent down here and that sort of thing. It seems to be an aristocracy. You have a minority who are more knowledgeable about what the law is and rules of evidence and all that kind of thing. And if you want to get anything done in here, you have to go to one of these special people and have them plead your case for you, instead of being able to plead it yourself. Well, you can plead it yourself, but...
Good luck.
Exactly right. This is my analysis of how the three forms of government mix in with the Constitution, with our three branches of government. We are a band of hardy volunteers who have come here to study the Constitution. We take up a donation from time to time, and you, out there in video land, if you feel the need that you have gotten something out of this, you certainly are welcome to donate as well. There will be some form, some way for you to be able to donate as well. Okay. I only want you to put money in this chart. Oh, somebody already did, thank you very much. I only want you to put money in the jar if you gain benefit from this. If you have not gained benefit, if you don't have benefit from it, I do not want you to do it, but we just pass it on. Article 1, Section 1. Well, I'm on page 24 of this book, which I had no authority to write. Nobody told me I should write it. Nobody told me I could write it. In fact, they begged me not to.
But you did.
Over on page 25 of this, and it's Article 1, Section 1. Mike, you want to go ahead and read it?
Okay, Section 1, all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives.
Good. All right. So now we've defined the legislative branch, and it has two parts to it. It's got a House of Representatives, and it has a Senate. And all legislative powers that are granted within this Constitution are granted only to this branch. This branch makes the law. This branch can enforce it. This branch can determine disputes about it. This branch is not allowed to make laws. This branch is not allowed to make laws.
Or to change them.
This branch is the only one.
That's the ideal situation.
Oh, that's what it says. That's what it says. Now, I do have a little comment in the corner about to enforce or execute laws, government agents make regulations. Any regulations they make must be based on a law passed by Congress. Sometimes an agency, or let's just pick one at random, BLM perhaps,
EPA.
EPA perhaps, IRS
Forest
perhaps.
Service.
So this is where we draw a distinction between laws and administrative rules.
Right, and the administrative rules have to be based exactly as it says here. It has to be based on some law that's passed by Congress. Yes.
Well, the big fallacy in all this goes to 1946, when they adopted the Administrative Procedures Act, which delegated this legislative authority to these damned agencies.
Yep.
They said that the act says they adopt a rule, that rule has the force of law.
Even their administrative rule under the Administrative Procedures Act, it still has to go back, and it still must be based on a law passed by Congress. They have to be able to show, here's the law passed by Congress, this is the one we're operating under. Next meeting, we'll look at Article 1, Section 2, the House of Representatives.